Coast residents, we also have a plan for the East Coast. We have East Coast, Singapore, we have a together at East Coast plan. We care at East Coast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a nomination day special. Now, this morning you might have seen all the nominations in the 9 nomination centers for the people representing your SMC or your GRC. And I'll go through a few of the places where I find that it'll be very interesting to watch and hotly contested places. But everybody knows the biggest shot this morning is on East Coast GRC. I will share more about that later. So for today, we'll be talking about some of the places which I feel will be hotly contested, and also we'll talk about East Coast GRC. So we'll first start from the SMCs, and then we'll move over to the GRC. So there are a few, quite a number of SMCs that are being contested, but to me, right, the one that's most hotly contested is actually Potong Pasir. Now, most people might think it's Bukit Batok where Chee Soon Juan is, right, and against Mr. Murali Pillai, but I think the result might be exactly the same as the last election. But Potong Pasir will be very, very interesting because they are represented by Jose Raymond. Now, if we look back a little bit about him, he has history with Vivian Balakrishnan. He used to work for the press secretary, and he also was mentored, or rather was a good friend of Cham Si Tong. Now, he joined the SDP and now and now he's the chairman leading Potong Pasir. So he used to stay in the area and now he is representing them. Now, why is this significant? Because Potong Pasir has always been an area where the Cham had for over more than 25-30 years. It was in last election, in 2011, where it was officially handed over to PAP. But Jose Raymond wants to represent the same party that represent Cham Si Tong, and he wants to bring the values that Cham had, right, in Potong Pasir back to the citizens itself. So that would be very interesting because the PAP, Mr. Sito Ipin, who has been holding that place for since 2011, will have a tough challenger in someone who is modeled his style after Cham Si Tong, was mentored by him and groomed by him as well. And he's a journalist, right? And he's also in charge of the sports here in Singapore. So he has a very good media background, and he came from a normal average background like the Singaporeans. So that, for me, the SMCs, Potong Pasir is a very interesting one. Right? We also have MacPherson, where you have Tim Pei Ling. Chances are she will win that area, so I'm not very worried about it as well. My area, which used to be Fengshan SMC, right, has been combined with East Coast GRC. So that is no longer around, right? So those are some of the SMCs which I feel are the hotly contested one. Basically, it's just one, right? The rest, they are all probably in the hands of the PAP, and if you're talking about Hougang, it will definitely be Workers' Parties, no questions asked. Now, the interesting one will be the GRCs. Now, GRCs has always been known to be where the stronghold and many of the PAP ministers are located. It was until 2011 where Aljunied officially went to the hands of the Workers' Party. Now, this year, it's a very interesting year because election happens after COVID. And if you look at the GRCs they are running, right, there are a lot of unique characters. Now, the ones I want you guys to focus to are actually just these 3 main places. The very first one, West Coast GRC, where Tan Cheng Bock and the PSP will be versusing the PAP, which is run by Desmond Lee, right, and S. Iswaran. The other one, which I find very interesting, right, it's of course East Coast GRC, which has Heng Swee Keat, right, and Nicosia, and I will talk about that later as well. And thirdly is of course Aljunied GRC, which is run by the Workers' Party. So I'll go through each of them accordingly. We'll first start with a very interesting one, and to me, right, it's actually West Coast GRC. Now, I find that to be one of the only 2 possible places where opposition can win a GRC, the other being Aljunied. Now, why so? West Coast GRC, if you look at the demographics, it's held by a minister, but not a very high profile or very strong minister. You don't have your Teo Chee Yen, your Ng Eng Han, your Heng Swee Keat, your Vivian Balakrishnan. But rather, you have people like Desmond Lee, right, who is a minister for info, if I'm not mistaken, and you have S. Iswaran. People who are ministers but not high profile ministers, right? And they're coming up against a guy who is called Mr. Tanjay Bok, who was a former PNP MP, and he was an MP for over 27 years. So now he's contesting that GRC, and it might be, in my opinion, one of the only two places where the opposition has a chance, right? So that is for West Coast GRC. I think that will be one of the hotly contested places. The other one is Aljunied. Now, Aljunied has been known to be a PAP stronghold right up until 2011, where George Yeo officially lost to the Workers' Party 18. And he has been in the hands of the Workers' Party since. However, now without Lau Tak Yang and without Chen Sha Mao, they have a new lineup in this era. Now, Pitram Singh, sorry if I got his name wrong, was saying that this could be a wipeout of the opposition. In my opinion, this can only be two things in this election. It's either a wipeout or an increase in the opposition in the parliament because of the possibility of West Coast GRC, Potong Pasir, Hougang, and Aljunied as well. But this will be a hotly contested area because the PAP would want to get back the area, and Workers' Party has put their A team. But if you look at the lineup of the PAP, the people they put there are not really some huge people. They're putting there to contest, to know that if we lose, we lose, right? But if we win, then it's a good thing. So they do not want to risk any of the big guys in the area as well, right? So Aljunied GRC, I predict that it'll be a hot fight, maybe 52-48 around there towards the Workers' Party. So I think they would take it. But my interesting last one that I want to come to is East Coast GRC. Now, I'm part of Fengshan, which is now a part of East Coast GRC. So technically, I'm part of this 5-man GRC. Now, something interesting. When a few days back, Lim Swee Keat said that he was retiring from politics, I, as a member of East Coast GRC, was like, so who's going to represent me then? Because you have no big ministers, and many of them were already revealed to be holding their GRCs. Chan Chun Sing, Tanjong Pagar, right? Vivian Balakrishnan in Holland. Nee Soon has Shanmugam, Lee Hsien Loong in Ang Mo Kio, and vice versa. So I was wondering that who is going to take over East Coast GRC? Because if you look at the lineup of East Coast GRC MPs, there are none that is of high stature or a big player, right? If you look at the others like Cheryl and all the others, they are mostly backbenchers, people who are just MPs, but they do not hold a significant post. So when Heng Swee Keat announced that he was taking the helm of East Coast GRC this morning, it came as a shock because many people were actually thinking that he would carry on contesting Tampines GRC. And now, why did they do that? In this election, this is one of the very unique elections that before nomination day, there was only 3 GRCs, which has 2 ministers in each of this GRC. West Coast GRC, where you have Desmond Lee and S. Iswaran, right? Where you have Tanjong Pagar, where you have Chan Chun Sing, and I think the other one is, sorry if I got the name wrong, I know it's a lady called Latif. You can go check her out. Right, and of course Tampines GRC, where you have Mr. Masago and Heng Swee Keat himself. So these are the only GRCs with 2 people GRC. Now, when you have 2 ministers, it basically means that your place is very strong, especially when you have big people. But in East Coast GRC, which has always been a hotly contested area for Workers' Party, if you look back at the previous election, they got about close to 40% of the votes. And now, without someone big here to hold the lines, there is a possibility that PAP will lose this area. So why did they only reveal on nomination day? I think, in my opinion, that it was a very good sleight of hand move, and they only keep their trump card to nomination day. Because when you look at the lineup for the people running here in Workers' Party, they actually put a very good team, including Nicole Seah, who in 2011 ran for the NSP against Goh Chok Tong and got about 40+%. Did not compete in 2015, and now she's back. Now this is a very interesting situation. If the PAP had announced earlier that Heng Swee Keat was going to East Coast GRC, they might not have put Nicosia, right, in East Coast GRC, because she provided a bit of star power for the Workers' Party other than Aljunied and Hougang to actually contest in the GRC with her experience in 2011 as well. What they would have done, in my opinion, is that if they had found out Heng Swee Keat was taking East Coast GRC, they would have plucked her out and moved her to Sengkang GRC, because Sengkang GRC is run by Ng Chee Meng, which is the Secretary General of NTUC, if I'm not mistaken. Right? He may be in charge of NTUC, but he's not a super big figure. Fairly new, and it's also a new GRC catered to the younger people in the area, and Nicosia is a younger person. So they might, if they had knew Heng Swee Keat was coming here, they would have put her there. But because they didn't know it, so they put her here, and then now Heng Swee Keat is here running for East Coast GRC. Now, what does this represent? That they by bringing him here, they are representing that they value this area, and they knew that this area is very dangerous. So they have to put someone of value and importance in this area. Basically, like from the scene in Avengers, Infinity War, when everyone was being overrun in Wakanda, and Thor arrives and kills everyone, and he was like the savior. Technically, the same thing as well. He is like the savior to hold this area. So the Workers' Party were caught in the situation where they now have their third, or rather their second best team here against a minister who is the future. He's the deputy prime minister and the future prime minister. So chances are, they know that this is a losing battle, and that is a situation that they're stuck in. But it has been done, and Heng Swee Keat will be helming East Coast GRC. Right, so he will be running elections, and that is one of the most interesting thing in nomination day, where they actually move a big guy over to East Coast GRC. All right, so we are about 10 days to election day. So take this time, go listen to the speeches, go listen to what they plan, and vote wisely on election day itself. Right, but in the meantime, have fun and stay safe, and I'll see you guys soon.